On today's episode, getting an inside perspective from one of the co-directors of Right Here, Right Now on gonstFM, off air. Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to gonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 gonstFM, the radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm your host, Richie, aka Papa X, as so lovingly named by all of you Gonstlings. We've all seen Right Here, Right Now, the Goofy. We've seen it multiple times. You've heard me wax poetic about this movie, how much I enjoyed it. Now, today, I have a special guest for you guys. Co-director of Right Here, Right Now, Alex Ross Perry. How's it going, dude? Thanks for being here.
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, no problem. So before we get started with a movie at hand, I want to know, what got you into filmmaking? What was a movie or one of the directors that maybe you noticed their work and you were like, I want to do this?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to talk that much about myself. Are you recording video? Is this video podcast or just audio?
Just audio.
All right, because you have a very elaborate backdrop, and I didn't know if that was part of the video.
No, I usually do that whenever we have guests on that are in full,
cool.
Makeup and stuff. So
yeah, God, I really don't know. It's been so long since I've answered that question, but probably around summer of 1998, when the AFI put out this top 100 list of the supposedly 100 greatest movies of all time. Somewhere around that summer was when I first saw Clockwork Orange and Blue Velvet, two films that were on that list as far as I remember, and pretty much just made me want to watch more of that sort of thing. I was 12 or 13 at the time, so I hadn't yet really learned that there's a world of things that's not just what people want you to watch, but there's other things out there. And yeah, I suspect kind of following my interest in those filmmakers and those movies probably took me down a pretty short path to just thinking I love this. And of course, at this time in the late 90s, the idea of independent film was very cool and maybe even seemed like a good career choice. So probably, and then, stuff that I loved around that time, like Clerks, sort of just totemic 90s independent stuff that was as many people have said, it's well, I could do that.
And I love Kevin Smith, too. I'm glad you brought up Clerks, and I also love David Lynch. I don't run into too many people around my area that are into David Lynch. I watch Twin Peaks, and of course, like you mentioned, Clerks, I watch a lot of his movies, too. I'm big into independent film. And I first had noticed your name, not of Ghost, actually. I first had noticed your name watching Christopher Robin, which I thought you did really great work on the screenplay with that. That was a freaking excellent movie, dude.
Cool. Well, thanks. Very different projects, but now with the Right Here, Right Now box office numbers, the two most successful things I've ever had a hand in creating. But that's the thing about Ghost is anyone who works with Ghost, anything else you do is funny, because then you can say I did Christopher Robin for Disney, and then I did Right Here, Right Now for Tobias, or the choreographer Lisa, who did the dancing skeletons in this movie, works with Lana Del Rey, and it's that's just funny now to say choreographer works with Ghost and Lana Del Rey. And
right. And
Jim Parsons, the live concert director of the Forum filming here in this movie, saw him at the premiere on Tuesday, and he said, I got to shoot tomorrow with Andrea Bocelli. It's it's very funny that you work with Ghost and Andrea Bocelli. So anyone you work with, if Ghost is one of those, it's that's a funny contrast.
Yeah, but it's a cool contrast. It's got to be a dream job to work with any band, really, that you're a fan of. I know you're doing a project with Pavement soon, which, that's down the road. But with Right Here, Right Now, I know you got hooked up with Ghost with a Metal Myths thing, right?
Yeah, that's true. And, there's a lot of ways in a professional career, depending on what you do, where you can play every move wrong and have very few unique and compelling creative options. And the sort of work I've done with music videos, or even just being able to make a mockumentary like Metal Myths, is I just feel like the path is always like just working with more people, more it's fun to hang out with a musician for a day and shoot with them and make a video. And like I was saying, there's so many interesting people in the world and so many artists that have this entire unique perspective. Obviously, Tobias more than all others, let's say, but it's just always very interesting for me to get to be a part of somebody else's creative world, which is not something everybody feels. Some people just might want to always be the creative leader and view partnership as sort of other people helping me realize what I want. And I've obviously done that on smaller movies that I was kind of the sole creative force driving them. But I always really like getting to work with other people or learning what interests them or discussing collaborative thoughts or influences. And that can take on, in the case of Ghost, anything from that mockumentary to a music video or now this movie. And, there's so many interesting creative people in the world. And if you only want to make one kind of movie, you're only going to work with one kind of person.
And the cool thing about doing collaborative stuff, at least my favorite thing, is sometimes whenever I'm doing that, there's going to be something that gets pulled from the recesses of my brain that I didn't even think about or remember or, anything like that. So I think some of the best ideas are born out of creativity between more than one person and another person. If you got a whole team there that's throwing ideas, this movie is chock full of a collaborative effort. I mean, you had a second director, Jim Parsons, doing the concert footage, and then you had your team working on all of the stuff, adjacent to that. Was there any challenge with making sure that, stuff flowed seamlessly from one thing to the next, as far as like, did you get to look at the concert footage, like as you guys were creating the stuff with the backstage elements?
Certainly. And Tobias's vision for how he wanted that shot, and, he directed it obviously in a way, not literally during the show of being on, he's on stage, right. Jim is doing that, but Tobias's vision is what shaped it in the edit as the director and sort of mastermind of the entire Ghost universe. And he was very clear. And just even starting with that, like, here's what we did on night 1. Here are some thoughts for night 2. It was just right away very fascinating. And then Jim, with Tobias, turned those edits around very quickly. And we were seeing those kind of right away. And during the shows, and certainly during the day of filming where there was no audience, I was able to just really make sure, like one example is there's like a steady cam shot following Papa off stage with his fist up during Watcher in the Sky. And being able to get a shot like that in September, knowing that like we're going into a scene that's going to have a sort of special feel in the movie. Let's get a special shot on this stage so that we have that transition. Like, if you're not listening to other people's creative ideas, you won't get to sort of make everything run smoothly. But then as soon as those edits started coming in from Jim and from Tobias of the concert, it was like, well, this is great. Like, this is what we want. This is what fans would want. And then the only challenge later was like, well, of the 12 or 24 angles, let's look at all 25 of them and find a shot where we can see clearly Papa leaving or returning to the stage as an edit into the scene that we have already shot, just to make everything extra seamless. But it was a lot of back and forth, just, people in different places and keeping track of it all. And of course, fairly quickly, but it was a worthwhile challenge. Most things are a little bit less quick, but maybe a little bit less interesting as well.
Yeah, I can't even imagine having to edit 2 nights worth of footage, especially like the way you guys had it set up, if I remember right, was like one night you had a set of cameras on one side of the stage and vice versa on the second night. And again, putting those shots together, as much as Tobias like walks around, obviously in Papa character, as much as he's, moving, from time to time on stage, some nights maybe slightly, different. Like he steps with a foot a certain way and he steps with a foot a different way the next night, depending on what kind of shot you're trying to put together. Yeah. He switches hands, with his microphone a lot, tosses that thing around, so, and I know that dude's got a bird's eye. I know he's going to notice every little, detail.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine editing it either. Like whatever he and Jim did, like, I in my mind, like the the way that concert is edited should have taken 2 years.
Right?
Like, I don't know. I don't know how they did it. Like, it was, I mean, I know how fast they did it. We were getting updates constantly. But like, that's the wonderful thing I have found with Tobias is like, this movie was, these concerts were 9 months ago, and our filming was 4.5 months ago. How is that possible? The movie's worldwide right now because the guy driving it knows what he wants. If people don't know what they want, it's not 4 months, it's 4 years.
Right.
And if they know exactly what they want, then you're just there and you're just you're executing the vision as much as can be. And then that's it. Like, it's kind of a wonderful explanation of like, yeah, I mean, just the guy knows what he wants. So that's how things can happen. And if the edit is done and he doesn't want it, then then it's done again. Like,
yeah,
it's very harmonious.
Yeah, and then I'm sure getting to know him working on the Jesus He Knows Me music video like helped a bit because I'm sure going into this blind, I mean, you probably would have had the same turnaround time, I'm sure, but I can't imagine it didn't help. You know what I mean? Like knowing him prior to this, you kind of have a feel for how the guy works and what he's looking for. Obviously, he has his stuff like set in his head like years and years out.
I suppose, yeah, that's probably true. But, a video is different, especially one that is not involving himself on camera or the band. Not to say that there's any less specificity of vision, but I think like the impression that was given all along is like this movie is sort of, the mountain of all these projects. And all of them have been smaller. And of course, not that we had anything close to unlimited time or money, but more so than a one-day music video shoot, right, or a one-day, the way they would be shooting the chapters, which has been described to me as like, two in a day or something. This is an opportunity to do something more, and you can know people very well, but nothing can prepare you for that because how many times have people felt like everything was fine, they get to shoot a movie and everything goes haywire because it turns out like the pressure just cracks people.
Yeah.
But instead it's like, we have what we have. This is the space we've built. These are our resources. These are the hours in the day. Let's get as much done as we can. And I think we all know exactly what you want. And this also goes for Robert Kolodny, who has shot and edited both the Jesus He Knows Me video and Metal Myths and this. And again, like he is part of that collaborative conversation. He knows what Tobias wants. He knows what we want. He knows what fans want. And he knows how to do all this technical stuff that I could never figure out.
Yeah, and that's a great part about also to be having like his finger on the pulse. Really, like that dude definitely knows what we're looking for as much as what he knows he wants. And working with Robert, dude, like that's a great cinematographer, dude. I love everything about how this movie looked. I mean, even from the concert, like I know it was different, but like looking at the backstage elements that you guys shot together, it looks fantastic. Getting to see Ghost on screen in a way that you've never seen them before, that high def, that much of a big cinematic feel. It's amazing seeing, just being, lifelong fans, in the fandom, like, seeing their, tiny little rock band start out in, Sweden and then going basically to Hollywood. It's fantastic. Did you enjoy working on this over shooting like a music video because maybe you got to be a little more deliberate with certain scenes and you got to let certain moments breathe on screen, like if there was like subtle lines that were spoken like between Papa Nil and Papa 4, things like that?
Well, I definitely enjoyed it more than a music video, but only because we had more money and more time. A video, like even something where the artist is crystal clear, the rule of thumb is we have one day or typically, hardly ever more than one, like just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. We need 4 minutes. Whereas on a movie, like, I think everything we were shooting with this backstage component, including the balloon stuff at the end, and then of course creating the opening outer space VFX prologue, like, it's 25 minutes probably. I don't think I've never maybe added it up, but the fun is just like, it's like what you're saying. If it's a music video, you might not be bringing in the crane for one shot because that's a silly waste of resources on a one-day shoot. But for this, okay, well, we need to introduce viewers to this space that some of this movie is taking place in. Let's start up high on these chandeliers and come down and make it, as you said, this kind of slow, deliberate camera movement that matches what these guys are doing at the arena. It's kind of overhead shots that swoop down onto the stage. Let's mirror that and then use that as a way to set up audience expectations where in about 25 seconds during that first scene that plays during Kaiserion, just show you the whole space so that you know the geography of where this little backstage arena is going to play out. And we do that in under 30 seconds with some camera movement that on a music video, or I assume, I've never done one, but if you're making the chapters in one day, you probably don't have time to do a very, very deliberate 25-second shot. You just kind of need to go and get it done. And sometimes you have that luxury, but of course, that is very appealing. And the other thing that's extremely exciting to me, you never hardly ever get to do, certainly not in this capacity on any video or anything. It's just we built this entire space. And getting to design that and have it created to our specifications, creative and logistic, is for me my favorite thing always, is building up a set and having everything be under our control rather than, well, this is the space we can afford, so let's try to cram our idea into this space. Like, no, let's build this archway, couches, this and that, like stairs. Like let's do it for real. Yeah. And let's really make this exactly what we want. And then everywhere the camera looks is what you want to be looking at because we built it.
Yeah, and I love the set design. I was actually going to ask, not like writing, but as far as like going into a physical set and having it built, how long did pre-production take on that?
Well, not sure exactly. I mean, I'm sure I could find an exact answer, but like, like hard prep, meaning like we have the stage and our guys are in there and like we can go there and sit there and work. Probably 3 weeks before the 1 week of the shoot. So you probably get the soundstage for a month to build, prep, shoot, and break down. But by the time we shot it, which was in February, we've been softly prepping since September, essentially, of let's get people's dates. Let's try to figure this out. People have to converge from many different places, and many collaborators have to be available at the same time. And Tobias's schedule and Marilyn's schedule, and every key player has a schedule. Right. So we were sort of putting it together throughout the end of last year and allowing it to, we were rushing it because we had to, but also we weren't doing anything before we were ready. Yeah. But a couple of months of a lot of emails and then like a month of really like we're sending concept art of the backstage and we need approvals now because we need to measure this out and get a space that can hold what we're building.
Did you guys wind up shooting in New York or did you go to California for the shoot or?
It was shot here in Brooklyn. That's just like, I'm asked, can you be a partner on this and bring this in on time with the money we have? And my answer, I've worked, wherever I need to. But I just, LA is not a good place to shoot. It's certainly not a good place to be clever and save some money. And all my resources and all my collaborators and everyone who would gladly say yes to a shoot that doesn't take over their life for 3 months is here. And I just said, I can do anything. I can do exactly what is needed on time with the money available. We have to do it in my turf with my people, doing things our way, and you need to come to us. Not that Tobias lives in LA or anything, but like we just need to bring this here into my creative home, and then miracles can happen. And one of those miracles is about 4 months after shooting this, it's playing worldwide.
And it's amazing that it came together that quickly after that part of the shoot. Hell, it's amazing that the movie came together as a whole as fast as it did. I mean, considering the Kia Forum concert was just last, fall, like September, so going from conception, planning stages to a reality where this movie has opened in June of 2024 is nothing short of brilliant, because if you really look at it from the concert shoot to now, it's way less than a calendar year,
Yeah. But I mean, again, when someone knows what they want, that's what happens. Like it's very challenging. It's very difficult, but like, it's difficult to wrap my head around even having done it. But like, it's just because there's no finding of it. It's just execution. And that is the rarest collaborative quality. And many things could go wrong and many things can be fixed with a little bit of hustle or throwing money at a problem. But you can't throw money at the person whose project this is doesn't know what they want it to be.
Yeah, very true.
And that would be impossible. Nothing could be completed under any quick timeline with that as an obstacle.
I was curious if you had any projects on the horizon, and if there is a dream project that you would love to have happen that's outside of the Ghost universe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I certainly have other things I've been working on. Nothing that's like, let's talk about it. Like in a way, this is a dream project because I was able to jump on board a fast-moving train that was, for my opinion, of having made small things, like well-financed, moving very quickly, knew when the train was stopping, and knew that it was being made directly into the anticipation of thousands and thousands of eager fans. And obviously, creatively, in many ways, it's a dream to work with a band like this, to work with somebody who I admire and respect. It's a dream to get to be a small part of a big project that I sit there and I watch it and I just think, what a unusual, unlikely, and cool thing to have gotten to be involved with, and then get to make contributions of my own that I'm certain they could have hired 10 other people to do, and they wouldn't have had the same ideas. And some of those ideas are, everybody thinks they're great ideas now, and that's what I'm there to do. And then it opens and it's seen very widely, and that's not a dream at all. Like, it is a dream. It's not that it's my dream to make concert movies for theatrical rock bands, but that is definitely a dream that has been fulfilled. So now, it's almost like I would do anything like this because I love stuff like this. Yeah. I don't know what would be cooler. This is a one-of-a-kind thing. Like, we were doing the press in London, and there's been many concert films over the decades, and you're talking about it, and you're like, this is a concert film where we're talking to fans or we're seeing response online. Like, don't spoil it for me. I'm not seeing it until Sunday. And I'm thinking, what other concert movie of any band, small band, hugest band, has the fans saying, like, don't tell me anything that happens in it? Never. If that's ever happened before, no one has told me what that other movie is. And when you realize that makes this maybe a one-of-a-kind project. And that just is a testament to the generosity of Tobias as a collaborator and the vastness of the world he's created that can sustain a very traditional art form, the concert film, and tweak it in a way that has potentially never been done before or never been done in this way. So, like, a dream project is something that when you get to the midway point or the finish line, you're like, yeah, I guess there's never been anything quite like this. And I didn't know that when I started, and that's not why I did it. But now that that's in my head, that feels like, what a delight. And I didn't even have to do 110% of the work as I do on anything I originate.
What a ride this whole experience has been, honestly. Like, just as a fan myself, as a fan of your work, as a fan of Ghost in general, this whole thing has, like you said, it really has been one of a kind. Like, I don't think I've ever seen fandom or press or anything like that surrounding a concert film do anything like this.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Like, you see it in the weekend box office top 10. That's a huge accomplishment for a band with no mainstream. Not that there is a mainstream in the same way as there was when I was growing up, but like, there's no ads for this movie on TV. But like, if I saw a concert movie in the box office any other weekend, I probably wouldn't think about it if I didn't know the band. Like Trafalgar, I was asking them in London, what's your next movie? And it's a K-pop film. I don't know anything about that. I'm not a fan. I don't know the world. Right. So if I saw that a K-pop movie made a ton of money, I would just think, oh, that world has a lot of fans. And I wouldn't think twice about it. But that just goes to show, like, wherever in the world this movie was able to be, there's little pockets of Ghost fans that could attend screenings and celebrate and have that fun. And that exists for so many things that fans neither know nor care about. No one who saw this movie, well, maybe somebody is going to see Trafalgar's K-pop releases. But, there's just things that are made for the people that want it. Is a very rare and special thing, and you have to respect that. And I hope that I did, because it's just a trip at being like, well, first and foremost, I'm just somebody who wants this. I want this to be good. I would like to see this, and I would like it to be great. So I just don't want to let myself down because I'm a fan, and I've been given this very special privilege to get to be a collaborator. And I want other people to watch it and be like, yeah, that was better than I thought. And obviously that's all anybody cared about, Tobias, management, everyone. And, like the thing I maybe compared it to a little bit while we were shooting is like in summer 96, maybe, or summer 97, or maybe even 98, you get the X-Files movie. And okay, you watch the X-Files every Friday night and later Sunday night at home. And it's a passive activity in the way that a TV show is. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to spend money. And then one time there's this huge, big budget 2-hour thing that costs more than any other 2 hours of the X-Files. And it is for the fans. It changes what the story is about. It deepens the UFO mythology. And then at the end of the movie, you go home, and then a couple months later, you watch the X-Files on TV again. It doesn't change your relationship with it. It was just this other thing that was made at exactly the right time for fans of the show. And that was kind of what I said. I realized this felt like, where it's just taking this and kind of blowing it up for this moment. There's no album, there's no tour at the moment. Like, this is the thing. This is the feast for this year, and get it out in the middle of the year so that it has this long tail, and make that kind of the thing that we being them, make that the thing that like the band and everyone can give to the fans 9 months after the tour ended.
And it's amazing because I've ran into all kinds of people of different, walks of life with this movie where, like myself and several other people, huge fans of the band. Yes, we're going to go as many times as we can go see it. And then you see other people that were there where they're like, this is my first watch. I have no idea who this band is. I just know that there's a lot of hype around it, word of mouth. And they come out of this movie huge fans. And I think that's the coolest part about this movie, dude, is that it's not only enjoyable for the people that have been there for the ride this whole time, but we're getting to meet other like-minded people out in the wild that we maybe never thought were in our neck of the woods, and then we're also converting new fans to this band. So I would have to say that is a very huge job well done on everybody's part involved with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating for me. Like, that's what I'm sure everybody hopes, for Tobias. Like, I can't speak for him at all, but like, it's just obvious, and he says this in other interviews, so I'm not inventing his words. Like, it's for the fans. It's all for fans to have a great time, to have material that they can feel passionate about. And this would be true of any band, but I don't make a movie like this for any band, so I can only compare it to this. Like, I'm at the press doing the screenings. So how'd you first get into Ghost? Oh, I saw them opening for Iron Maiden in 2017. I was talking to someone else. How'd you get into Ghost? Oh, I heard Mariana Cross on TikTok last year after the tour, so I haven't seen them. And it's like, well, we have two very different ends to the same 2 hours of watching this. And obviously, and then there'll be people that say, oh, how'd you get into them? Oh, like a friend dragged me to the movie. And like, it goes beyond like, oh, I didn't even know about TikTok or anything. My friend took me to the movie and I had fun. And like, it just goes to show that things are very, very much in flux, and things are always evolving, and there's no one path, and there's no one version of appreciating something made by artists that you love. And 10,000 people at the forum can have 10,000 different relationships to how they got there that night and what they're feeling. And then people all over the world can watch this and come to it different ways. And to do that all in like the same time, it's very exciting for me, just thinking about being able to have been a part of something that reaches so many people in such a short period of time.
Congratulations on the success of this movie. I just looked at the box office numbers like earlier, and I was like looking at, like you said, top 10. I was like, oh my God, it's like 4.7, million for like a worldwide, draw. And I was like, that's great for just word of mouth and everything like that. But dude, seriously, there is no wrong way to love Ghost. Like, to bounce off what you were saying earlier, I say this a lot. There is no wrong way to love this band. And thank you guys for giving us a new doorway for a new set of fans to come along, because like I said, I have seen so many people that have never heard of this group at all, or have seen them but have never listened to them, and gave them a chance based on this movie and came out on the other side big fans. So again, job well done, and we all appreciate the hard work you guys put into it.
Yeah, I was happy to be part of the team, and I'm glad that it's successful. I'm glad that fans like it and that there's new fans that weren't fans a week ago.
Alex, I really appreciate your time. I know everybody that's listening to this is going to really enjoy it, and I hope you have a great week. Congratulations again on the success of Right Here, Right Now, and hopefully we see more of you in the Ghost universe as time passes.
Yeah, I'll do anything, but if this is it, then I went out on a high note.
And what a high note it was, man. Alex, thanks again for joining me today, my friend.
Cool, thanks.
If you'd like to follow Alex on social media, you can follow him at Alex Ross Perry on Instagram. I'll have links in the show notes below. For past, present, and future episodes of gonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating and comment on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please leave a comment below, like the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and ringing the bell for notifications. If you would like to join us for a future gonstFM Station Head radio ritual, if you would like to buy gonstFM merchandise, or if you'd like to join the official gonstFM Facebook group gonstFam, all of this can be found in the show notes below. And so, my dearest Gonslings, this brings today's episode to a close. Some of you I will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you I will see in gonstFam. Take care of yourselves, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we Tronst. I'm Richie, and I'll see you next time.